Okay.
All right.
The name's familiar, but I thought...
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City Commission meeting of March 22nd, 2022. I call this meeting to order. Val, please call the roll.
Commissioner Penny?
Here.
Commissioner Curry? Here. Commissioner Danio?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Mayor Villa?
Here. And at this time, I'll remind you all to please silence any electronic devices that may make noise. And I'll ask you all to please stand for the invocation led by Commissioner John Danio and continue standing afterwards.
Smiling. Well, I don't know if we are or we aren't having a proclamation, but this month is going to be our Water Conservation Month. But did you know that today is actually World Water Day? March 22nd.
No, but I knew I would be able to count
Yes.
on wanting something.
And did you know that over 1 million people die of unclean water every year? And I could probably dazzle you with a bunch of statistics, but the point is, we take clean water for granted. And I just thought, sometimes you see these villagers and they're traveling miles up and down mountains bringing buckets of clean water to their families. And one time somebody told me to count the spigots in my house to find out all the options of clean water, besides my washing machine, my outside hose bibs, my showers, my faucets. I bet you we have double-digit options for clean water. So as we're thinking about Conservation Month, let's kind of remember clean water. It's just something to think about. Anyway, let's pray. God, tonight's prayer is simple, that we just don't take things for granted, and that we just thank you for all our blessings. And we just lift this meeting up to you tonight, ask you to be with us and be with those out there that need you more and most. And God, we just lay it at your feet tonight. So we pray in your name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Commissioner Danio. Alrighty, so now we'll move to our presentation, and as Commissioner...
No, we are.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Danio. Water is very, very important, and as Commissioner Danio said, it is Water Conservation Month, and so there is a proclamation that I will ask this commission with no objection, if we could enter it into record. Seeing none, I'll have Val enter this into record.
Hey, Mayor,
All right.
while you're under presentations, can we go ahead and introduce our...
Yeah, I thought we were doing it at the end. We can do it now,
We can
though.
do it presentations
Yeah,
as
we'll do it right now. So, Mr. Forte, the floor is yours if you'd like
I'm
to.
going to actually have Stella come up
Okay.
and introduce Susan Lincoln.
All right. All right, Ms. Stella, the floor is yours.
Stella Grenay, previous finance director. But it's a pleasure tonight to introduce you to Susan Lincoln, our new finance director here at the city. She comes to us from the state of Florida. Most recently, well, for a long time, 25 years, worked for the state of Florida, but she's a homegirl. She grew up here in Daytona Beach. She went to Seabreeze High School, went to Stetson to get her degree. So she's looking forward to coming back home to be closer to where she grew up as she's moving towards retirement. Not yet. She's going to be here at least as long as Joe. He made her promise. But she's got outstanding credentials and experience. She's a CPA, a certified fraud examiner. So we're thrilled to have her on board.
Amazing.
Susan, if you want to
Awesome.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor, Commissioner, City Manager, for inviting me tonight to meet you all. As Stella said, I'm so happy to be here, to be back home, as I say, and enjoying working myself into retirement. COVID had pushed up my retirement plans. I always had planned to come back here, but went to Tallahassee after my mother had passed away here in Daytona. And I decided that it was time that I settled in a place that I want to be for the rest of my life. And so this is the place that I'd like to be. I'm going to be searching for some real estate soon, and definitely looking to, this is definitely the last place that I'm going to work. So thank you all for such a warm welcome to Stella, the staff, Mr. Forte. So it has been such a warm welcome, day 7, and things are going great. Thank you all again for your such warm welcome.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lincoln. We appreciate it. Put your hands together for our new finance director. We're all looking very much forward to working with you over the coming years, and we obviously wish you the very best of luck, and we're here for you if you need it. So with that, we will move on, and we will recess the City Commission meeting and convene as the CRA. Number 4 is our CRA agenda, 2022-R-21. Mr. Simpson?
Resolution number 2022-R-21 by title only for first and only reading. Resolution of the City of Holly Hill, Florida Community Redevelopment Agency authorizing the city manager to execute change order number 8 to the US 1 Utilities Undergrounding primaries conversions with Carter Electric for an additional amount not to exceed $29,085.66, providing for several building, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Mr. Forte?
So this is just a section of the FPL undergrounding conduit that was damaged. We're not quite sure how it was damaged, but it needs to be repaired to keep the project moving forward. We are going to try to figure out how it was damaged and try to go after whichever the other utility companies may have damaged it, putting other conduit in the ground. I'm not confident that we're going to be able to do that, but in the meantime, it's got to be fixed in order to keep the project moving forward. Antoine, do you have anything more to add to that?
Antoine Corey, Public Works. So I got some good news. We have some power poles that has went down on the west side of US 1 between Mason and 3rd Street. And
Made it to 8th Street today.
yeah, no, the poles didn't come down. They're working to put the light poles.
Right.
The light poles are in, and we talked to the contractor. He's going to go all the way to Walker and then switch to the east side. So we're seeing some progress. Maybe there's a light at the end of the tunnel for us. So.
Great.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Curry? Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Forte? Anything further, Mr. Forte?
No, sir.
Joe,
All right.
one thing.
Yep.
If FP&L puts the conduit down and it's fine, isn't it kind of obvious the next contractor is the one that damaged it?
Well, there's more than one contractor that came after him. So you don't know if it's AT&T, it might have been Bright House, it could be, there's another.
So we just blew 30 grand. We're never getting it back.
Probably not.
The issue for us is we put in the conduits for FPL, and we put the conduits for everybody basically. But Spectrum is the only one who actually put in new conduits for themselves. My guess would be it was Spectrum, but I cannot confirm it. Our field folks are investigating it, or the consultant is investigating it, who has been there because their permit has been pulled through DOT, not through us. So we're doing some research to try to determine who was in that area, but could be fiber, could be anybody. We have no clue, so.
I'm not familiar with the techniques used, but would they have known that they messed it up and then they just stayed quiet about it?
Commissioner, I have a FPL, maybe 6 years ago, drilled through a service line to a house and put in a conduit through it, and nobody knew for 6 years.
Wow.
These things happen. The directional bore machine got a lot of power, and when you hit plastic, the conduit is plastic, you don't feel it.
Okay.
Now, when you hit concrete pipe, sometimes you feel it, but with this one, it's just plastic pipes in the ground, so.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? All right. At this time, we'll open this up to the audience. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak on this item tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public comment, and I will entertain a motion. A motion for approval, Commissioner Johnson? All right, we have a motion for approval from Commissioner Johnson and a second from Commissioner Danio. Is there any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Now we will adjourn as the CRA and reconvene as the City Commission, and we are moving to number 6, which is public comments, and this is the audience's opportunity to address the City Commission about anything not on our regular agenda tonight. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the Commission? Seeing none, I'll close public comments, and we'll move to the approval of the minutes from March 8th, 2022 workshop and March 8th, 2022 regular City Commission meeting. Can I have a motion for approval of both meetings?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion for approval from Commissioner Danio and a second from Commissioner Johnson. Any discussion needed or any changes? Seeing none, we'll open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on the minutes? Seeing none, we'll close public comments. And all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. We have nothing on our consent agenda tonight, so we'll move to our regular agenda. Number 1 is Resolution 2022-R-22. Mr. Simpson?
Resolution number 2022-R-22, by title only for first and only reading. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, authorizing the city manager to execute change order number 8 to the US 1 Utilities undergrounding primaries conversions with Carter Electric for an additional amount not to exceed $29,085.66, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. We just discussed this. Is there anything further you want to add, Mr. Forte?
Nothing further.
All right. At this time, we will open this item up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this item tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation, and I'll entertain a motion for approval. We have a motion for approval from Commissioner Johnson. Can I have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Curry. Is there any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Number 2 is Resolution 2022-R-23. Mr. Simpson?
Resolution number 2022-R-23, by title only for first and only reading. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, approving Mead and Hunt, Inc. as the most qualified consultant to perform all tasks for the design and construction of all ARPA projects and authorizing the Public Works Director to enter into negotiations with Mead and Hunt, Inc., providing for severability and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Mr. Forte?
Yeah, let me read this because they did such a good job in this presentation. The city issued a request for qualifications to select a consultant for professional engineering services and CEI services for the ARPA improvements under RFQ 22WW02 to provide professional design and CEI services for that third BTU at the wastewater treatment plant. And if funding is available, following projects for relocation of the sewer main from the LPGA Canal, Lift Station 4, Lift Station 21 rehab, the Kavanaugh water main, and upgrade of the influent headworks at the wastewater treatment plant. There was only one bid that came in, so we need to make you aware that it was under RFQ 22WW02, which was properly advertised according to federal and state requirements. RFQ 22WW02 specifications did not improperly restrict competition. RFQ 22WW02 had 30 firms that downloaded the request for qualifications as shown in the attached documents. The City of Holly Hill Finance Department contacted 2 local firms to inquire why a proposal was not submitted by the firm on this request. One firm indicated that the project was too big for them, and the second firm has teamed up with another local firm to submit on this request for qualifications. So the city received one RFQ for the advertisement that had a date due of March 10th, 2022. The package received identified Mead Hunt, Inc. as the lead, with Zev Cohen, Artem and Associates Geotechnical Services, and Southeastern Surveying and Mapping as the team for the ARPA listed project. The evaluation committee met on Thursday the 17th at 10 a.m. in a properly noticed public meeting to review the RFQ. The evaluation committee had determined that Mead Hunt Inc. team meets all of the requirements listed in the RFQ to perform the task from the city. The terms and pricing of the contract will be negotiated by the Public Works Director, and the final contract will be brought back to the City Commission for final approval.
Thank you.
Typically, we would get, on an RFQ, we would get multiple submittals that we would evaluate, rank, and bring forward, and we only received the one. And because we only received one, we wanted to make sure that the commission knew that we went through all the right processes and everything was met that should have been met. 30 vendors picked up applications, but we only received one back. It's a sign of the times, really, is what it is.
It's too busy.
It's either too big of a project for some, or it's too busy for others.
Are there any questions for staff? All right, at this time, we'll open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this item tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public comment, and I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion for approval from Commissioner Curry and a second from Commissioner Danio. Is there any discussion needed?
I just want to say real quick, Mr. Forte, thank you for the detailed explanation of how everything.
Well, the staff wrote that. I just read it.
Thank you, staff. I should have known.
It's-
Thank you, staff.
Stella.
See, that's why I didn't do
starts
that.
it, Stella tweaks it, Joe reads it.
That's why I didn't do that.
All right. Are there any further comments?
No.
All right. At this time, we'll go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Now moving to our public hearings. Number one is ordinance 2022-0-3048. Mr. Simpson?
Are you going to abstain now? Are you going to read title first?
Oh, yeah.
You gotta leave.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't say anything. Don't say anything.
Ordinance 2022-0-3048 by title only for first reading. An ordinance of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, approving the first major amendment to the Volusia Sports and Storage Center Business Plan Unit Development, BPUD, Development Agreement, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
And I'm gonna retire from the meeting for a few minutes. Let me know.
Abstain from voting, why?
You have to say why.
Because this is his project,
No,
so,
it's not. Just my property.
well, it's your property.
You're the property
You're
owner.
the property owner. Okay.
For the record,
And-
Commissioner Johnson is the property owner, so he's leaving the dais to abstain from voting. And you've filled out the form?
I'm going to give that to him.
Oh, okay.
He has 15 days to fill it out and fill it
Good.
out.
All right. Thank you very much. So, Mr. Walker, I'll just wait for, just ask you to wait until he leaves the room, please. All right. You're good to go, Mr. Walker.
Mayor, Commissioners, you may recall back in August of 2021, the City Commission adopted Ordinance 3041, which approved a rezone to Business Plan Unit Development for the property at 1137 South Nova Road. And this was so that they could develop an RV and boat storage facility, along with 14,211 square feet that was dedicated as a sports facility. The development was to occur in two phases. The first phase was to be RV parking and boat storage, along with 7,893 square feet of sports center in an existing building, and all of the improvements that were going to go along with that, the parking, the retention pond, etc. And phase two was to be 6,318 square feet of covered open-air recreational area. Now, the phasing plan and the associated development are shown in your staff report as Exhibit A. The applicant has come before the commission, or is asking to amend the BPUD to make some changes. None of these changes are to the permitted uses. They all basically have to do with the layout and the preliminary development plan. So, in summary, the changes are, they're removing the phasing plan, they're removing all RV and boat storage, they're removing 6,318 square feet of covered open-air recreational area, they're changing the parking lot layout and reducing the number of parking spaces since the scope of the project is going to be less. They're changing the location of the dumpster pad and enclosure, and the dry retention pond area will likely be reduced in scope because you have a lot less impervious surface area than was previously proposed. As you know, there's an existing 7,893 square foot building on the property that the applicant proposes to develop as a sports center with related storage. There are no changes to the landscape or buffer sizes. There are some minor changes to the landscaping that consist primarily in some of the tree types. Sod will be placed in the areas that are no longer proposed for RV and boat storage. And the enhanced landscaping that was originally proposed along Nova Road remains in place with this amendment. In your staff report, I have included all of the original analysis that was done back when you as a commission reviewed this to be rezoned from CC1 to BPUD, just there in case you had any questions. But again, this does not, there are no changes to the permitted uses that are proposed here. The Board of Planning and Appeals did recommend approval of this at their meeting on March 7th, 2022. The changes that are made are consistent with the Land Development Code and consistent with the Comprehensive Plan, and therefore staff recommends that the City Commission adopt the ordinance enacting a rezone from Business Plan Unit Development to Business Plan Unit Development, a major amendment, and the associated development agreement and preliminary development plan for approximately 2.38 acres located on the east side of North Nova Road, South Nova Road, approximately 375 feet south of Gulf Avenue, and more specifically known as 1137 South Nova Road. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Are there any questions for Mr. Walker? All right. Thank you, Mr. Walker. I know the applicant is here. Would you like to come up and say anything? And just state your name for the record and address.
Harry Newkirk Engineering, 1230 North US Highway 1, Ormond Beach. Thank you, Mayor, Commission members. What we have here before tonight is the PUD with the uses, as Brian stated, staying the same. And the plan was revised to show really Phase 1 being the sports center. And if we come back for other phases, such as a Phase 2 that has storage, or Phase 2 that is increased in the sports center because of the high demand as it's in operation, then we'll come in with a PUD amendment and update the plan. So really what we're really doing is the way we were going to phase the site and for the project, and that's why we had to come back in with the revision to the PUD, really to show what we want to do as far as the first phase. And Brian's 100% correct. The landscaping around the buffers stayed the same. We made no changes there. The enhancements across Nova Road stayed the same. Clean water. This site doesn't have water from the city. One of the improvements are we're tying into city water. It's very clean water here in City of Holly Hill. And we'll have a water meter, and it goes into the building with some of the building improvements inside as the interior of the building is brought up to current standards in Florida Building Code. The site in the first phase will reduce impervious surface. What's there right now, we're removing around 2,000 square feet. So, and when you do that, the site will discharge less stormwater to those properties behind the site. Hence why you really don't need additional stormwater, because we're going to regrade what's already there. It's got a lot of vegetation in it, and that's cleaning up as the building's already been cleaned up with paint, and it got some of the red on there and the signage and whatnot. But working with the city, Joe Forte, Brian Walker, of course, absolute pleasure, very ease of access to get them on the phone, to talk, getting meetings at the city. Everything here is top notch, really. Wish I had more projects in Holly Hill, and I actually met on another one. I look forward to doing that earlier today. But everybody here is just amazing to do work with. So if you got any questions.
I just had one from the business standpoint. So I know that the Phase 2 is going to be like soccer, I think, right? Like an outdoor type.
So Phase 2 would be covered area so the weather doesn't get to it. And actually, it could actually be AC. It just depends on how it, in operation, if we're getting the type of businesses, the gym next door, which I know from talking to the owner, they wish they were double the size.
Mm-hmm.
So, we were just at a baseball tournament, and multiple people came up to us asking when this was going to be open. So I know there's going to be a high demand. There's nothing like it in Volusia County.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing like it.
But you're still planning in the future, if there's a demand for it, maybe doing somewhere soccer?
Absolutely.
Cool.
We will do
Good.
additions to the building to increase the square footage of the sports.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Newkirk. Are there any questions for Mr. Newkirk?
Thank you for your compliments about our staff, too.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you
And
so much.
bring all the projects you want to our city, as long as they're good. All right. Are there any further questions for any staff? All right, at this time, we'll open this up to the public. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak on this item tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation, and I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion for approval from Commissioner Curry and a second from Vice Mayor Penny. Is there any discussion needed?
No. Just happy to see this for the youth.
Yeah. I echo those statements. All right, we'll go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Newkirk. And now we will wait for, if you could tell Mr. Johnson he can come back in, or if he can hear us.
He might be able to hear us if he's in, yeah, I think he was in the conference room. Yeah.
I think he's allowed to stay in the room when we do it, too.
I think so. I think he just can't say anything.
Yeah, he's allowed to stay in if he wants, but he can't speak.
Which also means that there has to be substantial competent evidence to deny.
We had a lot of debate on it, Mr. Johnson.
It was close.
All right, we're going to move on to number 2, ordinance 2022-0-3049. Mr. Simpson?
Ordinance number 2022-0-3049 by title only for first reading. An ordinance of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, of Volusia County, Florida, relating to comprehensive planning, adopting updates to the city's 5-year capital improvement schedule within the city's capital improvements element in accordance with Florida law, providing for repeal of all ordinances and parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Mr. Walker, floor is yours.
Commissioner, as you know, one of the documents that the city uses to guide physical and development, physical and economic development in the city is the comprehensive plan. It contains 9 elements, and one of those elements is the capital improvement plan, or the capital improvement element. And state law requires that each year the city update its 5-year program for capital improvements and adopt by ordinance the updated capital improvement schedule. The report that we have before you contains the proposed update to the city's capital improvement plan for the 5-year period covering fiscal year 2021-22 through fiscal year 25-26, and it is in your staff report as Exhibit A. There are no revisions to the actual goals or the policies or the objectives that are in the capital improvement element within the comprehensive plan. The 5-year capital improvement element update, this is done each year after the City Commission finishes its budget preparation, and priorities that have been completed are deleted from the program. Any new priorities or projects are added to the program. The capital improvement element in the comprehensive plan is a plan for anticipated capital projects, so it is not a fixed budget. The capital projects on this list are here because they support or expand the services available to the citizens of Holly Hill, but under state law, really only the projects that address deficiencies in or maintenance of design levels of service for water, stormwater, traffic, solid waste, waste disposal, parks, and schools need to be included. The city does not currently have any project that is required in order to address a level of service deficiency. The projects on the proposed list are service improvement projects, and they can be adjusted within the capital improvement element, or they can be postponed beyond the period, the scheduled period, as demands and financing dictate. You'll notice that some of the items do say that they are funded, some of them say that they are not funded. There may be funding in the future that is designated for a particular project, but that's not something that going out needs to be established at this point. The Board of Planning and Appeals on March 7th, 2022 recommended approval or adoption of this element, and the staff recommends that the City Commission adopt the attached update to the 5-year capital improvement element and incorporate the revised program into the city's comprehensive plan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Walker. Are there any questions for Mr. Walker? All right, thank you very much. At this time, we'll open this item up to the public. Yes, ma'am.
Hi there, I'm Heidi Heller of 460 Ridgewood Avenue in the future excellent city of Holly Hill, Florida. I'd like to say thank you very much for sharing this time with me. This is about transportation, a mule purchase. But in the lines of what Ms. Penny Curry was talking about earlier, this is a good time of learning a lot in jobs and learning a lot. I don't think it's an actual mule that's being purchased or suggested to be purchased, or a donkey or a jackass or anything like that. So I'm guessing it's a cart or something?
Yeah, piece of equipment. Ms. Forte.
It's a real mule.
It's a what?
We're changing things around here.
It's like you know what a gator is? A mule,
Kawasaki?
a gator. It's like a 4x4.
You know Robin Hager?
Kawasaki 4x4?
Very similar.
It's like Robin Snake.
And is it used? Because they're 19,000, 5,000?
Antoine's not here. I'm going to venture to say that yeah, it's bigger than a gator, but
So it's new?
yes.
And is it gasoline, electric, or diesel?
I don't remember. I think it's gas.
Gasoline, okay. and
Certainly not electric, and it's not a diesel.
Street legal, or is it just going to be on property use?
It will be on property use. But
And
that
ju-
doesn't, I don't know if it's going to be street legal or not, but it's going to be an on-property use.
And you don't know the brand? No, okay, sure.
Yeah.
The mule's a generic term
The mu-
for that type of equipment.
Okay, so as Mr. Walker mentioned, it's unfunded, not established at this point, so it's not necessarily going through, it's just,
It's just on the
And
list.
It's on the cap, yeah.
Just a lot of
Okay.
ideas that we have to put into the capital improvement plan.
okay, that's it, just.
Thank you, Ms. Heller. Appreciate it. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like? Yes, sir.
Good evening. Jim Legary, 342 Burley. I would like to again suggest that perhaps in our service budgets, we could include some kind of community outreach to the general citizenry. I think we're making a lot of progress. Things are looking very shiny, but I don't think that affects probably 85% of the population. And I really would like to see some input from the general population and some way for us to digest that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Legary. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on this item tonight? Seeing none, I will close public comment, and I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion for approval from Vice Mayor Penny and a second from Commissioner Curry. Is there any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. We'll move to communications, and we'll start with our city manager, Mr. Forte.
Two items. Several months ago, we brought to you a change in the CRA grant where we requested that when a business wants to do a paving grant, that we incorporate landscaping into that so that we're kind of beautifying the city in addition to just doing a parking lot. or if they wanted to put up a sign and there was area for landscaping, we would incorporate landscaping into those. And in the grant program, it says that you can get a 50% grant for landscaping up to $10,000, but it has to be in conjunction with one of those other grants. So recently, we had 2 paving projects that came in, and as we're evaluating this at the staff committee level, and we're looking to say, all right, you've got a good paving project here, now we want you to include landscaping in this, and when you have to put the landscaping, it's going to require irrigation that may not be there. All of a sudden, I'm realizing that it may cost a couple $1,000s or more for the landscaping and on all of its requirements, and that's coming out of the portion of the paving grant. And I don't think that's fair. I don't think it was ever intended to diminish the amount of money that they would get for the paving grant. So I want to see if you agree with me that if somebody comes in, and I'll talk the higher end, if somebody comes in and has a large parking lot they're going to repave and they're going to get a $10,000 paving grant, and we go back and we say, well, now you got to put in $3,000 worth of landscaping and irrigation, that would also be matched under the irrigation grant. The reason that's important is the grant criteria says you can only get a $10,000 grant. But we're now punishing people who qualify for a $10,000 paving grant by demanding them to get landscaping and then not assisting them in the funding of that through the grant program. Does that make sense?
You're not saying not to increase the max still will be 10.
Well,
Will it be 10 for paving and then?
I think it should be 10 for the paving and then whatever it is for the landscaping, which is kind of the carrot. The carrot is to get people to fix their properties and make them look better in the overlay, in the CRA district, and paving just doesn't do it. Paving makes the property look okay, but landscaping makes it look good. So if we're going to ask them to landscape, and we're going to take that money out of their matching money for the paving, it's kind of a penalty.
Right. Were these 2 projects that you were talking about, were they going to be up with that 10,000 grant?
One of them I know for sure would be up at the 10,000 level. Do you know about 128? I don't remember what theirs was. They would be pretty close, if not over the $10,000 mark.
So how much did we budget for the additional, we didn't budget anything additional for landscaping, correct? It was built into the...
It was all built into the grant, and there's plenty of funding available in the CRA grant program.
Yeah, that's what I
Yes,
thought.
I'm not concerned with that part of it.
Yeah, and there's only a handful of projects that we
Right.
want to encourage to take place.
Right.
So the question would be, and I would assume you'd have to bring back an item to the commission.
Well, if I can
later.
get your support in doing this, if you'd like, we could bring back the grant program and change it. But in the meantime, I've got 2 grants sitting out there that I want to follow up verbally and tell them that, yeah, you'll get your $10,000 paving grant, and now we're going to insist that you put in X dollars of landscaping, but you'll get a 50% grant on that as well. So if I can get your concurrence on that, we can go back and verbally get that moving forward.
Isn't there a percentage of landscaping that you have to put in? Because you could get $10,000 worth of asphalt and put in a palm tree.
Well, we talked about that, and we've been talking internally about either a percentage of the paving grant but the challenge is not all parking lots are created equally. So you might have a large parking lot that has very little availability for landscaping, and even though we'll sometimes say, well, you don't need this area for parking, so why don't you dig that out and put that back to dirt and some landscaping in there, and we'll help pay for that. So it's all on a case-by-case basis. 2 equally cost-worthy projects, they may be $20,000 each. One has a lot of available landscape area and one has a little. So we have to look at it only on a case-by-case basis because it's not new construction, it's existing, and we have to deal with what we have.
Right. Yeah, it never dawned on me when we were talking about it initially to be taking away from that other grant. It was always to encourage the beautification of it, and if it's taking away the incentive at all, then it's defeating the purpose of, I think, what the commission
We
wanted to
didn't realize it
accomplish.
till we met as a committee yesterday, and as we're going through, because this particular application for paving has a large area that could be landscaped, and we're sitting there going, well, that may cost $2,000 or $3,000, and all of a sudden, he just lost his $10,000 paving grant because we're going to insist that he puts landscaping in.
I think the most important thing, Joe, is to make sure that it's maintained.
Well, that's why it requires irrigation. You can't just put plants in and forget about it. It's got to have irrigation, it's got to be maintained, it's got to be maintained for at least 5 years.
Right.
So if somebody's going to maintain it for 5 years, they're going to be in the habit.
How do we
hopefully-
police that?
But by review. Technically, we really should go back and inspect it annually, is what we should do when there's landscaping, and we
If
may
they come
put
up
that-
short, are they supposed to pay back their,
If it comes up short, they're supposed to replace the plants. You
replace plants?
you buy a dozen plants and 3 of them die, you're supposed to replace them. That's how it's supposed to work.
Did you have something?
I think it's a good idea to not take away from their ability with the paving, but yet be able to provide assistance for the landscaping, because both are equally important. So I wouldn't have a problem with
I
that.
think you need to put a minimum in there, no less than $2,000. Because if they're gonna spend 2, they're gonna get 1. And it doesn't take very long to spend $2,000 in landscaping.
You'd be surprised. I'll use your property. There's not a lot of room on your property for landscaping. If you were to, your property has a lot of landscaping. So it's tough to insist on there being a dollar amount when the circumstances are very unique. We had one paving project not too long ago. It was on Carswell. It had literally 2 feet by 10 feet of an area to landscape. I can't force them to put $2,000 worth of landscaping in there.
Well, if they want the grant money, you can. I mean,
There's no room. It's not practical. Buy one very expensive palm tree.
so really, you're just looking for us to, okay, 2 grants, 2 separate grants?
Well, no,
I'm looking to not have the applicant use their paving grant to have to fund landscaping that we're insisting that they put in order to get the paving grant.
So they have to get 2 grants?
So they would have to get 2 grants that may exceed $10,000,
So why don't you
Prior to this, we had this, unless it's changed, because I ended up, it's been years, but I had the roof got half, and then the landscaping,
You can only
at
get
that time, it
2
was
different years.
75%.
You can only get $10,000 in a fiscal year.
Joe, why don't you just remove the landscaping requirement from the paving grant and call it even?
Because if I don't put it in there, they'll never put landscaping in.
I know, but you just told me that half of them can't put landscaping.
No, I didn't say they can't put it in. I said they could put in less,
I'd
more
rather
and
leave
less.
that in there.
So, like I said,
'Cause you're-
paving, no offense to our paver in the audience, paving's nice, but it's not great. Landscaping's great.
But-
Landscaping's make things look better.
But I would argue that a broken up, terrible looking parking lot that's freshly paved would have as much impact as a landscaping would.
Once it's paved, it's just a parking lot. Once you see plants and flowers and trees, that says beautification.
I would
Parking lot
rather
doesn't
leave
say
the
beautification.
landscaping in, because I think that assists in beautifying the city.
Why don't we just have the pavers, like, get a certificate of green thumb, and they could do all the landscaping for us? Look at Jim. Yeah, I figured that was coming.
I don't care.
David, now you gotta put in all the yellow stripes, the ADA signs.
That's right. You gotta bring up the code.
Pretty time you're done, believe me.
have you had anybody come to get a paving grant that then when they found out they needed to do some sort of landscaping, say, actually, no, never mind, I don't want to do this at all?
Nobody said no, never mind, but somebody's given us pushback.
Because it was tied to this extra,
I'd rather not comment as to why.
okay, all right.
Say something inappropriate, and Scott will say, shouldn't have said that.
Okay, all right. Well, with that, I'm in favor of that. I don't know if you want to bring that back officially. I know
Well,
you
I'll bring
need,
it back officially, but I've got 2 that are kind of waiting for a response, and I
Yeah.
don't want to stall them another 2 weeks if the commission is in support of it conceptually.
well, can we have consensus
I'm
now?
fine with it.
I'm fine with it.
We have consensus now to move forward in that
And we'll
direction to
revise
allow.
the grant program, and we'll bring it back formally at some point. But I don't want to hold people up who are making progress.
Yeah, yeah, we want the progress to happen, so. All right, moving on now. Do you have anything else?
No, I'm going to schedule another work session probably before our next meeting, and one of the things I want to bring up is the Veterans Memorial.
Yep.
And I don't know if anybody has anything else that they want to bring up. Probably be a good meeting if there's anything miscellaneous that we want to talk about.
Anything miscellaneous?
I have something. Go ahead.
I was going to save it for my comments, but I went out to Bed Bath & Beyond this weekend, and when I pulled out, I noticed a sign over there that said, "Don't support panhandling." And I couldn't get a picture of it fast enough. And then I'm down in South Daytona right after that, and they have signs on most of their major corners, and it says, "Keep the change. Don't support panhandling. Give to a local charity."
I think Port Orange has those too.
And I talked to Brandon Young, and they just had those made, and they're at the major intersections. And I have noticed when Daytona passed their anti-panhandling thing, it went away, but now it's coming back.
Yeah.
Because the rules changed.
No,
again.
I understand, but the problem isn't the panhandler. The problem is the people that give the panhandler the money. And if they didn't give them the money, they'd go away. And so I would like to talk about the possibility of doing that, so.
Yeah, I would be good with talking about that.
All right, so we'll add that to the list unless there's an objection. Seeing none, that'll be added to the list.
I had something that I was going to bring up under my comments that we talked about last meeting, so I don't know if this is a good time to talk about it at a workshop or if we need to workshop it, but it's about the bike wash event. I don't want to let this just go away. I mean, we talk about it almost every year. We need to make a decision as to what we're going to do with it. And I would hope that we would not permit it, but.
I think, yeah, we should workshop that and not do it here from
Okay.
the dais, so
So
we
could we
can.
workshop that at the same time? Thank
I'll
you.
add it to that list.
Yep. Is there anything further anybody wants to add? All right, you're good to go with that workshop, Mr. Forte.
Again, that's all I have.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Simpson, do you have anything for us?
No comments.
All right, Mrs. Manning?
Thank you. I gave you two
Oh.
events if you don't mind.
Okay. And so, thank you for that, Val. Just want to remind everybody that we have the Holly Hill Arts Festival coming up this weekend, March 26th and the 27th. Amazing arts festival, which will be right out here on our City Hall lawn. So we're looking forward to that. 80 juried fine artists. Amazing stuff. So it's always a great event, so come on out if you're available. And then, of course, on April 9th, which is a Saturday, promptly at 10 a.m., we will have our Easter egg event, and promptly at 10 a.m. So if you tell any people with kids, make sure that they're here. It's always hard to get kids on time places, or at least it is for me. So try to aim for 9:45 is my best advice there. So we'll have 3 different divisions, or actually 4 different divisions, 4 and under, 5 through 7, 8 through 10, and special needs children as well. So any kids 10 and under, have them come on by and participate in an Easter egg hunt. Speaking of events, I was unable to attend the car show, but I did drive by it at the beginning, and oh my goodness, there was a lot of cars, and I'm sure Vice Mayor, I know you were there, you'll talk about that, and I know Commissioner Johnson, you were there, and it just looked like an amazing, oh, sorry, okay, so everybody was there.
each other, that's
You guys,
all I know.
good.
I was
good.
leaving as he was coming in.
Well, I just, you guys could comment on it because I wasn't able to be there. I was actually, a while ago, I was asked by Sheriff Chitwood and County Council Member Danny Robbins and the Mayor of New Smyrna to be on a dodgeball team in New Smyrna.
Oh, nice.
And it was, I didn't realize it was the same day as the car show, and committed to it. And so we went out there and we won some games. And Sheriff Chitwood, even though he can't move around as well as he used to because of his legs now, he was a gamer. So it was pretty fun. We didn't win the whole tournament, but because half the team had to leave to go give speeches at other events. So we had to kind of bow out halfway through, but we did a pretty good job. The other thing we have on Thursday night, I believe all of us are going to it, is the American Legion dinner and the award show. So remember that. And Last is I just want to really welcome our new finance director, Susan Lincoln, and we just really look forward to working with you. And like I said, we wish you the absolute best of success. So with that, I'll turn it over to our vice mayor.
You've already hit on everything I was going to talk about.
Sorry.
No, it's great. No, the car show, I believe, was very successful. Someone asked me if it was successful, and I guess it's tough to measure success. Like, is it successful for the amount of cars here, or the amount of school supplies raised, or the money raised? Need to thank Tony Casada for putting it on. I believe, actually, I know he has a cold. He said it's not the COVID. He has a standard cold. And he's planning on coming to the next commission meeting and presenting checks to both of our schools. I unloaded 3 pallets of school supplies yesterday out of the trailer that Robin let us borrow. Almost 500 cars in the front and the back. And people didn't even go to the back. There were as many cars in the back as there were in the front. So,
Wow.
JP, boats, motorcycles, and all kinds of good
I
things.
mean, they had
Drag.
remote control cars.
Oh, yeah,
racing
that
on
was
the
cool.
Yeah,
Tennis courts over
yeah.
there. and-
Wow.
That was really neat.
And the
Then
weather-
they had
the weather
some
was perfect.
slot
That helped too.
car. I didn't see them racing, but Forrest and I walked through. It was like a trade show kind of thing set up over there. It was real neat just to walk through and see. But I liked what was up on the tennis court. That was really neat.
So, that's all I have.
Wow. Good stuff. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Commissioner Curry.
Thank you, sir. I'd also like to welcome you to our fine city and look forward to working with you in the future. Kudos about the car show. It was absolutely wonderful. I thought it was a success. So, many thanks to Tony Casada. He really works hard, and I appreciate all of his hard work. And I look forward to the art festival this weekend and check out. I'm amazed every year at some of the work these artists put out. It's just amazing. So I'm looking forward to that. And I guess I'll see everybody on Thursday evening at, where are we going?
American Legion.
American Legion, that's where we're going. Everybody have a good night. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Daniel.
Everybody's talked about everything, so.
I know.
Yeah.
Echo.
Yeah.
All right. Commissioner Johnson.
Yeah, it was a car show as well. I was pretty impressed this year. It was like, I'd say, almost double what it was last year.
Yeah, it was nice.
And we don't want to take Tony for granted. He does so much in this city. He wants to give it up, and he was saying he don't want to do it next year, but we did encourage him.
He says that every year.
I've known him ever since he was a little kid, believe it or not. As old as he is now, but he's always been an innovator, get it. But he does that. And then the very next day, he was one of the main promoters at the Florida Racing Association at the Hard Rock Cafe and Hotel we went to over there, and I helped him set up the post 120 honor guard for him and all as well. Joe helped us out and got him an honor guard for it, and also they do a lot for us as well. But Tony's a real innovator. He does that, and a lot of people don't know that behind the scenes what he really does at work. He's a real promoter there. He coordinates those road games for the roads and different carnival shows and things like that and all of that. So don't take him for granted. He's a real plus for Holly Hill. But only other thing is I think we're doing really good in the way we're doing promoting things and getting people to come together. And we're doing for the community and the general public and everybody here just as well. I think it's good for everyone. And then another thing, tomorrow we have a TPO meeting again, so if anybody has anything I could bring up there. But the last few weeks I've done some serious traveling, and I'll tell you what, no matter how much they raise the price of gas, it don't slow the drivers down. There's as many people or more people on the road than there was before the gas was $4 and something gallon. And I mean, it's pretty rough out there. Yesterday they had a bad accident on I-4. A dump truck came through the center guardrail going east, come completely through both guardrails and all the way over in the westbound lane. And just by pure blessing and luck, he didn't hit some car head on or something. Loaded dump truck. And it took them several hours to clear the road there. So the traffic is getting to be kind of a nightmare. We still have a little Cow Pasture Bridge out here on LPGA that people can't hardly get across or something that we should have planned for 15 to 20 years ago, not just now, you know what I mean? And then that exit up at I-95 and US 1, if they would just listen, they don't want to hear it when I say, if you come out of the Love Truck Stop, they could go through that wooded area and across that railroad with the bridge and right onto that exit going south. And it would take half the traffic away from up there that they're having so much problem with. They wouldn't have to spend a fortune doing it, buying a bunch of extra land or anything. And it's got a for sale sign on the wooded lot. You know what I mean? So that's a plus right there. But we got to do it. I mean, we should have been planning for it a long, long time ago. I mean, right now, I just thought the other day, right now we need another lane on I-4 on each side. And we need to plan within the next 5 years for like 2 more lanes probably, is what it looks like. It's And I go, and every single day this week, I went to that Buc-ee's at St. Augustine, north of St. Augustine, and every day it was completely packed full, and the gas pumps and everything else in there. People are still buying gas. They'll tell you at the meetings that people are buying electric cars, and they're not buying as much fuel, and so they're not spending as much money for gas tax, and that's a big problem. I don't believe it. I really don't believe that, because I go out there and see it firsthand. I just know that no matter what we do, we've got to plan for the transportation ahead of it.
Amen. All right.
That's really all that I have on.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. And one last thing that I have before we go is Joe and I met with Mr. Bailey, Doc Bailey, this last week to speak about the seaplane base. And as you all know, the good news is that there was almost a court ruling, but then FWC went ahead and changed their policy about manatees and seaplanes, and actually made a ruling or a change to say that seaplanes are allowed there. It is fully ready and fully open now, and so we're going to plan a splash-in event for media and for community members and whoever to come out and to have the first few splash in there and make a big deal about it. It'll be a smaller event, and then I think we're looking at September.
Yeah, he actually called me this afternoon, and I'm
so you
looking at
have
my
some
calendar. I don't know what the dates are supposed to be. I don't know why I can't find it. June, I'm sorry.
June for the splash-in, right?
June was going to be, June the 11th is kind of the ribbon cutting, splash-in, public announcement that it's open. And then I believe he said it would be October 22nd would be the event. So we're going to reassemble a committee that's going to help put that event on and make a big showing for that. So
Yeah.
those are based on the National Seaplane Association President's time schedule.
Awesome. So, and that will have a large amateur barbecue competition. I think it's called barbecue
Something like that.
cookout competition, something like that. So it sounds really, really awesome, but that's an exciting thing that finally, after all of these years, I know this is going back many years, that finally that's coming to fruition, and I think it's going to be pretty neat to be the only seaplane base on the east coast of Florida. So, all right. So with that, is there anything further? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.
Any update on Fountainhead?